Good afternoon, Commissioners. It is now 1:30, and we will go ahead and start the Housing Authority meeting.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And some housekeeping to remind commissioners to keep their audio on mute unless they are speaking. Commissioners other than the chair can mute themselves. Staff will remain muted until needing to speak. As members of the public join the meeting, you are participating as an attendee. Your microphone and camera will be muted. Only today's panelists will be viewed during the meeting. If you're calling in from a telephone and choose to speak during the public comments portion of today's agenda, for privacy concerns, the host will be renaming your viewable phone number to resident and the last 4 digits of your phone number. As a reminder, the City of Santa Rosa is committed to creating a safe and inclusive environment free from disruption. We will not tolerate any hateful speech or actions and are well staffed to monitor that everyone is participating respectfully, or they will be removed. If necessary, we will also immediately end the meeting. Zoom Home, can you please explain how public comments will be heard at today's meeting?
At each agenda item, the item is presented. The chair will ask for Housing Authority member comments and then open it up for public comment. The host in Zoom will be lowering all hands until public comment is open for the agenda item. Once the chair has called for public comment, the chair will announce for the public to raise their hand if they wish to speak on the specific agenda item. If you are calling in to listen to the meeting audibly, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. The host will then call on the public who have raised their hand. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and a timer will appear on the screen for the commission and public to see. Once all live public comments have been heard, the meeting host will read email public comments. If you provide a live public comment on an agenda item, but also submitted an email, your email public comment will not be read during the meeting. Additionally, there is 1 public comment period on today's agenda item to speak on non-agenda matters. Item 5. This is the time when any person may address the Housing Authority on matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Housing Authority.
Thank you. I ask the clerk for a roll call, please.
Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll call. I'll start with Commissioner Burke.
Here.
Commissioner Downey.
Here.
Commissioner McWhorter.
Here.
Commissioner Rawhauser.
Here.
Commissioner LaPena. Commissioner LaPena.
Here.
Vice Chair Test. Vice Chair Test.
Sorry, here.
And Chair Owen.
Here.
And let the record reflect that all commissioners are present.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3, which is statement of abstention. Are there any commissioners that need to abstain on any items today? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, which is a study session. And note that there are no study session agenda items on today's agenda. Moving on to item 5, which is public comments on non-agenda items. We are now taking public comments on item 5, non-agenda matters. This is the time when any person may address the Housing Authority on matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Housing Authority. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Host, please proceed with the outlined public comment procedures.
The countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you're invited to do so. I'm sorry, there is a live microphone. There's a lot of feedback. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown or at the conclusion of your comment. Chair Owen, at this time, I do not see any hands raised, and we have not received any email public comment.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6 was the approval for minutes. Do any commissioners have comments on the minutes? Hearing none, this is an item that does not require a vote, so we'd like to report out that the minutes have been approved by the Housing Authority. Item 8, which is committee reports. And we'll note that there are no committee reports on today's agenda. So moving right along to election of officers. And I'll ask Megan as director to introduce item 9.1.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Item 9.1 is a report of the nominating committee and election of officers. So as you may recall, on July 19th, we conducted a special meeting and convened a nominating committee to identify potential chair and vice chair for the Housing Authority. Those commissioners who served on that committee were Commissioner Burke and Chair Owen. So I'd like to ask them to provide their nominations for the new chair of the Housing Authority and a new vice chair, or a continuance of service. And we can have a discussion on that, and then we will vote on the upcoming chair and vice chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke, I'll put you on the hot seat to report out, if you wouldn't mind, please.
I'd be happy to do that. Had an opportunity to speak with you and to reach out to Vice Chair Test, and based upon those discussions, I'd like to make a nomination that Vice Chair Test be nominated to fill the role of chair for the upcoming term. And for vice chair, would like to ask that Jeff Owen take that responsibility for the next term. And that would be a motion. That'd be a motion that I would propose.
Any comments from commissioners on the motion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move it to public comment on the motion.
Is there a second on the motion? I think you might need to have that step take place.
I'll second the motion.
Chair Owen, would you like me to continue with the public comment?
Yes, please. Thank you.
We are now taking public comment on item number 9.1, report of nominating committee and election of officers. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. You will have 3 minutes to make your comment. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown or at the conclusion of your comment. Chair Owen, at this time, I see no hands raised, and we have not received any email public comment.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote for the resolution.
Okay, we will do so. This vote is for Chair Owen to continue as chair of the Housing Authority, and for Vice Chair Test to continue as Vice Chair of the Housing Authority. So
that's incorrect.
Oh,
You want to switch the names to the offices.
My motion would be to have Diane Test serve as chair and as vice chair, Commissioner Owen.
I apologize. Let me reverse that.
Not a
So
problem.
this vote will be for Vice Chair Test to serve as chair of the Housing Authority, and for Chair Owen to now become vice chair of the Housing Authority. So we'll go ahead and go through the roll call. We'll start with Commissioner Rawhauser. Commissioner Rawhauser,
yes.
your vote? Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner McWhorter, your vote?
Aye, yes.
Commissioner LaPena?
Aye.
Commissioner Downey?
Aye.
Commissioner Burke?
Aye.
Commissioner Burke?
I'm sorry. I thought I had my mic unmuted. Aye.
Vice Chair Test
Aye.
and Chair Owen.
Aye.
Okay, let the record show that the motion passed with all commissioners voting yes.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will hand over the meeting to Chairman Test.
Thank you. The next item on our meeting is item number 10, Executive Director Reports, Communication Items. Item 10.1 is Memorandum appointing an ad hoc committee to review project-based voucher proposals.
Thank you. So this is a request from our Housing Choice Voucher staff to have at least 2 Housing Authority commissioners identified to review the submittals we received in response to a request for proposals for project-based vouchers. So I'd be happy to receive any volunteers or nominations.
I'd be interested.
Excellent. Is there another commissioner interested?
I'm available to serve if needed. Megan, could there be 3 on this committee rather than 2 if that's something that, there's 3 people that are interested? Yeah, so that's
Yes, there
fine.
can, because we now have a quorum, or seven members.
Great, thank you.
Do
Sure.
any other commissioners who might be interested on serving on this committee? It's good experience.
I'll do it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Did you get me? Okay, thank you.
All right, and then to continue on the executive director's report, I have several items I would like to just bring to the Housing Authority's attention today. First, while we're on the topic of Housing Choice Vouchers, we are excited to be opening up the Housing Choice Voucher waiting list. It will be opening on September 1st and will be open for 2 months. We will be facilitating this primarily electronically, although if there are individuals in the community who are not able to access an electronic waiting list, we do have options on how it can be done via phone, and our Section 8 staff will be working with them directly. So again, this is opening on September 1st, and there is robust public outreach. You may have heard commercials. I've seen Facebook ads. There's notifications in newspapers. So we're making sure that we get the word out as best we can. And that again will be open for 2 months. Secondly, the emergency housing vouchers, which you have heard at the last several meetings. At the end of July, we being the Housing Authority of Santa Rosa, executed the Memorandum of Understanding with the Continuum of Care. The Continuum of Care is currently in the process of finalizing the referral process, and that would be to conduct referrals for homeless individuals or families to the Housing Authority for the 131 emergency housing vouchers that have been awarded to us. So that process is ongoing, and we'll be providing you with regular updates as we reach milestones in the program. On the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funding, this is the $38 million that the Housing Authority awarded in January of 2021. 3 projects are advancing rather quickly. The Linda Tunis project, which is the 26 units in Rincon Valley for seniors, has been given the notice to proceed, and staff is working on the loan documents. 3575 Mendocino Avenue is in the process of completing the environmental review and will be starting construction in October. And then Caritas Homes Phase 1, which is part of the old General Hospital site in downtown Santa Rosa, is working on their environmental and also expected to begin construction in October of 2021. And then finally, this coming week, the Lantana Homes, which is the 48 homeownership units in Southwest Santa Rosa that we have been working on since 2007, will be closing. So we have 48 new low and moderate income homeowners in Santa Rosa. More than excited to have this project come to fruition and to allow these individuals to become homeowners. So that concludes my update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
My main question is, how can I access the information so I can be better prepared for these meetings? Because I don't know how to access information at this point.
Commissioner Rawhauser, we can reach out to you separately. All the information I just ran through, it was just verbal remarks, so it was not in your meeting materials. But we certainly will reach out to you and give you an overview of the meeting materials and how to best use them.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Megan. Anyone else have any comments?
Chair Test, Commissioner Downey does have his hand raised.
Commissioner Downey.
May I assume that these new homeowners will be vacating Section 8 vouchers or project-based vouchers as a consequence of becoming new homeowners?
No. So Burbank Housing conducted a lottery for interested homeowners over the course of the past couple years. I believe there are a few, and we can certainly provide that information once we finish closing the transaction. There are a few that have come from some of their rental projects, but this was a community-wide solicitation, so they've come from all different aspects of housing that we have in Sonoma County.
Do we have any other comments? If not, we'll move to open public comment. We are now taking public comments on items 10.1. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. You will have 3 minutes.
A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown or at the conclusion of your comment. Chair Test, at this time I see no hands raised and we have not received any email public comment.
Thank you. We'll move forward then with item number 11, consent items.
There are 2 items on today's consent calendar. The first is a resolution amendment to the Housing Authority bylaws to reflect City Council's updated practice for appointment of commissioners. And the second is a resolution acceptance of the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program grant award and 5-year budget appropriation. Commissioner Burke did reach out with a comment on 11.1. And so if it is agreeable to the chair, I'd like to have Nicole Rathbun, our program specialist who worked on 11.1, provide some quick input on that item before the commission proceeds.
Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners and Chair Test. On item 11.1, the amendment to the Housing Authority bylaws, after this item was published, it was brought to our attention that there is one additional update that we should take care of at today's meeting with this update. Section 2.07 in the current Housing Authority bylaws lists the executive director of the Housing Authority as the Director of Economic Development and Housing, which is the old name for our department. And that should be updated to reflect the executive director as the Director of Housing and Community Services, which is the current name for our department. So that's more of a cleanup item. And if the Housing Authority is agreeable, we would like to have that recommendation be amended to include the update to section 2.07 as well.
Based upon that, does that need to be acted upon separately? I know they're consent, or how do we go about that?
I think because there's only 2 consent items, we could take the motions separately. So we could have someone move the resolution with that recommended change, and we can vote on it, and then we can move the second resolution.
Are there any other questions by commissioners? If not, we'll move on to public comments.
I think we need to have Jeff Burke, do we need to move the resolutions before we open it up for public comments?
You can have public comment now.
Okay.
Chair Test, Commissioner Lapena did have his hand raised.
No, I was just going to move the resolution.
Okay. We can do it either way according to Mr. Burke. Go ahead and make your motion, and we'll see if we have a second.
I think I heard Commissioner LaPena suggest that he would like to make a motion, and I would certainly second that if that's his desire.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution as read.
I'll second that motion. May I ask a question, just a clarification question at this point in time, Chair Test?
Yes.
So it's been a little confusing to me because I think our past practice, this is a really kind of a nuance, but our past practice has been to have the chair have the flexibility to make appointments to committees, either at the meetings or in between the meetings. That's just has come in the past with one of the responsibilities and duties of the chair. I think the bylaws are silent on that. Is there any reason that practice cannot be continued? And maybe I'm throwing you a curve right now if you need more time, but anyway, that's my question.
I think both Jeff Burke and I are quickly consulting the bylaws.
It talks about a variety of duties. I don't think it specifically refers to that one, and I think there's some latitude, but I obviously defer to city attorney.
Commissioner Burke, can you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, my question has to do with, does the chair have the authority to make appointments to committees, either at meetings or in between meetings, pretty much any time?
So it's not specifically spelled out in the bylaws. So if the better practice, if that's what if that's what the desire is of the Housing Authority board to do that, then I would recommend it be spelled out in there. The fact that it hasn't been agendized that way, I mean, we were able to, I think you're able to vote on the amendment, which is just almost a typo, a cleanup of some older language, but this would be perhaps a more substantive change. And I would think that to be consistent with the Brown Act, that you'd need to bring that back, unfortunately, at another meeting if you wanted to make that kind of a more substantive change. Well,
thank you for that. I appreciate that. I was uncertain about it, and it seems like our bylaws are kind of uncertain about that as well. I would suggest that we proceed with the motion, adopt these as modified with the 2 modifications, the City Council's ability to make a motion rather than a resolution, and then having the proper title for the executive director of those two things, and then we can return to the other one if that's something that the Housing Authority would like to do at a later date. So I'm suggesting we just proceed with adopting the motion as presented.
So this would be the time then to move to public comments until you have a motion and a second on 11.1.
Okay, thank you. We are now taking public comments on item 11. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand.
Countdown timer will appear for the convenience of speaker and viewers. The first speaker will be acknowledged and invited to speak. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown or at the conclusion of your comment. Chair test, at this time, I see no hands raised and we have not received any email public comment.
Thank you. We will now close public comment and move to a vote.
Okay, at this point, we'll go ahead and do I need a little clarification. Are we voting separately on 11.1 first and then 11.2? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me record the motion first. 1 second. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and take roll call on item 11.1. And I will start with Commissioner Rawhauser,
Yes.
Commissioner McWhorter,
Aye.
Commissioner LaPena,
Aye.
Commissioner Downey,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Vice Chair Owen,
Aye.
and Chair Test.
Aye.
Okay, let the record show that the item passed with all commissioners voting yes. Okay. And then we will move on to item 11.2. One moment.
We'll need a motion and a second. Again, this is a resolution accepting the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program grant award and the 5-year budget appropriation.
Mhm.
Do we have a motion and a second? For item 11.2.
I'll move for item 11.2.
I'll second.
To a
Okay.
vote?
One moment. Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote on item 11.2. We'll start with Commissioner Rawhauser, Commissioner Rawhauser, your vote.
Aye.
Commissioner McWhorter,
Aye.
Commissioner LaPena,
Aye.
Commissioner Downey,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Vice Chair Owen,
Aye.
and Chair Test.
Aye.
Let the record show that item 11.2 passed with all commissioners recording yes, or voting yes.
We now move to item number 12, report items. There are no report items on the agenda today. The next item is item 13 and adjournment. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.